Hello, welcome to another episode of Assorted Duties. I am your host, Arthur Reynolds, and today we are going to be talking about black people. This is title is going to be This Is Us. The first question I have is how we started to where we are now. And what I mean by that is there was a point in time where, you know, as black people, we used to communicate with each other. We used to look out for each other. And we used to even share with each other. We used to do a lot of things collectively. And fortunately, it was during the times when we needed to do those things. And I don't think that has changed. During that time, from slavery, was what I'm referring to now. Now there's a time where we need each other just as much, if not even more. Because there's a point in time where there's a place at this point in time where we think we are so comfortable with how we are able to live. And I think as we go along, black people forget that, it does still take a village to raise a child. And we've lost some of that village for various of reasons. You have kids that had kids, and because of that, they grew up and raised their child with the thought that I'm not going to do that to my child the way that it was done to me. Not realizing that those things that were done to you also made you stronger and made you a little bit better of a person. And so you lose some of that when you take some of that away. I'm not saying everything, but there are some things that was done to you that made you a stronger person and a better person, a little bit more of a well-rounded person. So when you take those things away, for an example, in my opinion, is trying to be your child's friend. Those are things that happen as they become adults, is when you become your child's friend. But up until that point in time, they're your child. You are the parent. You are supposed to set the example of what needs to be done and how you go about getting some of these things done. You are to be the example of that. The other issue that we can talk about is how we, as black people, on how we are so prideful. And as a black man, for myself, there is a great pride I carry, knowing the strives that my black ancestors have endured just for me to be able to enjoy some of the freedoms that I have today. And we should be passing this on to our family, our family tree that we create, or that we're a part of. If you have no children, you have nieces and nephews, pass that same pride on to them and teach them how they should carry themselves out here in the public. It's become a part where today's society, the way that we are treated, it's with fear. They address black people about statistics. They like to throw numbers at black people and use statistics to create a fear in them. And once you can create that fear in them, then you can learn to control them a little bit easier. So if we can get rid of some of that fear and some of that hatred that has been raised within those families to have that fear and hatred, maybe this serious society can become a little bit better in how we go about our everyday lives. The third thing I will be touching on in this here segment is this is why we are angry, to explain to you why black people have a tendency, as you labeled us, angry. And I'm just going to touch on some of the reasons on why, if you think that we're angry, on the justification on why that is. And it seems as if every time we think we can get a fair chance or a fair shake at something or somewhere, we're shown and reminded that we are black, and it will be understood that you stay in your place, and we can't seem like, when we think we're getting ahead, we're always thrown back, taken back, reminded that that's not what this is supposed to be. You're not supposed to be in this position. You're not supposed to be powerful. You're not supposed to be strong, and that couldn't be further from the truth. But because we allow these things to happen, it does, because we allow it to happen. And that's where I need the minority to understand that we're allowing that to happen, and it doesn't need to happen. There's people that have money, but they only have money because we spend the money to give them that. We don't put our dollars back in our community. There, sometimes it's not always as we like to believe in the black community, that white people are always holding us down. Sometimes, and as I said previously, when we think we're getting a chance to get ahead, white people remind us that that's not true. And they'll do something, to put that back in your mind and make sure that you're reminded of this. Your name is not Kunta Kinte anymore. Your name is Toby. And in their minds, you're not powerful. You're weak. And we need to remind them that, no, we are powerful. We've endured all the things that you've tried to throw out there at us. And we keep striving and moving forward. And sometimes these things are done by your own people, which is the reason why I went back to say sometimes we think we're getting ahead, because the moment you think that you're doing something and it's appeasing the white people, and then you start speaking up, you start standing up, they're going to remind you that no, we put you where you are, and we allowed you to have the little bit of authority you thought you had. And so what they do is they turn around and they remind you in a way that is a serious reminder to your position and how you got there. And for a small example, in my opinion, that would be with the Weinstein. When they went after Weinstein, they started that with him, and then I forget the other person's name at this point in time. It's eluding me. I apologize. But once they did that, you knew these other moguls, these black moguls, who now aren't toting the line that you're supposed to be toting, these were serious reminders of that. They showed you that we put this white man in position, and we tore him down. Now we're going to go get you. That was just to make it look like we're being fair, because we're not just coming after him. We're not coming after you black people only. So you started out by, I want to try to say, throw the blanket over our eyes by putting Weinstein out there and ridiculing him, and the other person who was allegedly found dead in jail from suicide, when this person was on suicide watch. I don't know how that happens. If you're on suicide watch, and I work in a prison, so if you're on suicide watch, you're really left with nothing to really kill yourself with. There's nothing in there to kill yourself with, as far as in the manner in which he ended up dying. Uh, so uh, now we have them going after Diddy. And don't get me wrong, let's definitely clarify that I am not condoning any of the acts that they have done or that they have allegedly been accused of doing. I'm not condoning any of that. What I am showing you is there is a hierarchy out here that reminds black people when we think we're getting somewhere that we're not getting nowhere. We just let you think that. And so, in that manner, so with that, that is another issue that I will elaborate even further as we go along. And the last issue in which I will be talking about also is, or yeah, the last issue is what we want and how do we get it. And that's very simple. I mean, that's a very simple topic to address, and that is something that we can do. As far, I will address. I'll touch on that one because it's not really long. It's not nothing to go into right now because I basically give it all away anyway, and I'll just be reiterating that statement itself. So, in start of this all, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna hit you off with that first part, which is how we started to where we are now. And as I brought to you before, we talked about back in the days how we shared and everything like that with each other and with slavery, and that is something that we can get back. We can get that back collectively. We need to start with our children. We need to get our kids as black men and black parents alone, mothers, fathers. We need to go ahead and start reeling in our black kids and teaching them the importance of the village. Just because, I mean, you know me. I know you. I know that your intentions when you see my child in the streets is to look out for my child and to make sure my child is safe. Then I should be supporting you when you come and tell me, yo, listen, I saw your child out here doing X, Y, and Z. And I approached them and told them, what are you doing? You need to get your butt home. I'm calling your mom. I'm calling your dad. I'm telling them what's going on. Now, at that point in time, when that occurs, and I'm speaking of my own upbringing, that there was that fear of going back home, praying that they didn't tell my parents what was going on, what I was doing out there in the streets. So sometimes I was happy if they disciplined me themselves, because I knew that if that person disciplined me and told my mom that they disciplined me, my mother knew that whatever it was for them to discipline me was enough, or was enough for her to now feel like you embarrassed me, and so now because I embarrassed her, she's going to discipline me as well. So those are things that we lose or lost in our children today because they feel as though that was done to me, that I feel as though I'm not going to allow that to be done to my child. And that's not the way I see things. If it was a friend of mine and I know them and I know whether they have kids or not, but I know their heart and I know that they're looking out for my child because that's my child and me and them, we tight. They're not going to allow my child to do something reckless. And they're going to be like, yo, you know what? I'm telling you, Dad, I'm getting ready to call your dad and tell your dad you out here cussing. I'm out here. I'm going to go tell your dad you out here starting trouble or you're out here disrespecting that other grown adult. I'm calling your dad right now. And get me on the phone while my child is there. And if my child knows that, my child understands what follows that. So I'm not going to allow someone whose child is out here doing the same thing my child's doing, and I tell their child, I tell their parent, and their parent has that I don't care, but then you feel the need, you want to tell me about my child. Now I'm going to take some into consideration that you're telling me, you know what I mean? Because you know I don't raise my child that way. So I'm going to address my child about it. But it's going to be a little different than who, because of who it's coming from. So, but the respect factor will be there. You're going to respect the adults when you're around them. You might be cussing when they're not around, and I'm not going to control that. I can't do nothing about anything I know nothing of. You know, and you're out there cussing, and that's fine. But once I find out that you're cussing, then we're going to deal with that issue. So as a parent, this is what we have to do. And some of these friends of mine are an extension of me. So they do have my permission to smack my child, and if they're getting really disrespectful about themselves. You know what I mean? So, and I don't mean to say smack my child, I meant to say spank my child. You know? So, and that's with my full condolence. Hey, sorry. You know what I mean? It sucked to be you because you shouldn't have did what you did in front of my friend. You know, and they are an extension of me. So you need to respect them, and when you're around them, as if you would if you were around me. So, but with that there, you know, those are things that need to be done to help our society continue to grow and be more supportive of each other. We as we are proud black people. I want to touch on that one now. We are proud black people. We have a tendency to think that buying the new Jordans, buying the new Coach bag, we think buying DKNY, Michael Kors, all these name brand products makes you have money. You know, makes it look like you have money. And we have a false sense of pride. Our pride is misplaced. Our pride should be in seeing my child graduate from school, you know, doing well. Let's back it up and go with the elementary aspects of it. Doing well in kindergarten and achieving what it needs to be done in school, not necessarily according to their curriculum, but according to our standards, where our child can read, our child can write, our child can spell. Might not be the greatest, but can spell for the most part. You know, and they can do math. You know, those are the four basic issues that are vital to success in life. And it doesn't have to be history. You don't have to know history unless you're going to be within that field, that working class, where you need to know history. History comes up, topics come up, you're like, you know what? Don't care about it. That's the history. You ain't teaching me about my history. Then why do I have to learn about your history? Because that's what happens. We are taught so much about their history. And we need to have a pride in our own history, and not just by the educational aspects of it, because it's educating enough when we realize what was done for us to be in the position we're in now. For me to be able to do what I'm doing right now, speaking on this podcast and expressing myself, is a contribute to all of the things that have gone and that have been done before me. Ancestors in slavery who stood up and rebelled and were whipped and beaten and hung to where we were important at a point in time only because they needed us. And every time we become important to the white people is when they need us. Election time. Election time is the most important time because now you see them hovering around the black community. After elections, you don't see these officials anywhere around unless they need your vote. They want your vote, they need your vote. Then at that point in time is when you see white people hovering around your neighborhood. You see flyers in your mail. You ain't never seen them. They ain't never come and talk to you. We got issues within the community, and none of them ever address us until it's an election time. And it's only to hear us. They ain't listening. Because if they were listening to us, it would be done after an election. It would be done before an election. It will be continuously fought and brought to the forefront every time you turn around. Because we have a lot of not social injustice. We have a lot of injustice, legal injustice, courtroom displays of injustice, unfair sentencing. And we are proud black people, misappropriated proud black people. We misappropriate our proudness. We think it's proud to be able to carry these name brand products, wear these name brand products, drive these high-end cars. Like, that is the marker of our success. It's nothing different than the white man done to the Indians. They've done it to us black people. Give us a little shiny trinket and rob us blind. Leave us with diseases. So we as proud black people, we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. We have come from slavery to where we stand today, where we can actually vote. And they take that away the moment they incarcerate us, which should be returned the moment we are released and no longer on any kind of parole or probation. Those rights should be restored to the black person. And that's where we are looking at this time as far as reinstating the black people rights to vote when they get out of incarceration. And I believe it should be as soon as they're released from the institution. I think they should be able to vote while they're in the institution. You want votes, they should be able to count. You want to cater to people and you want to make a difference, now you got to cater to the people that are sitting in jail. And that goes for those judges that are sitting out there. Now you have to worry about those votes because you're the one who sentenced them. And you unfairly sentenced them. And you've done enough people like that you got enough people now willing to fight against you because of that. So that is another thing that we need to get to. And that, as proud black people, we need to start standing up with each other and for each other. We also, these are the things that make us angry. These are the reasons why we are angry, which is the next segment part of this. We find ourselves behind the 8 ball every time you turn around. We get unfair sentences. We got people who carry a gun, and get arrested. Carrying a gun and get arrested and maybe shoot the gun off. Not shoot at somebody, not hurt nobody, not hit nobody. And they're getting a 8 to 20. You got another person who don't even have gun residue on their hands, hasn't fired a gun, but a gun was near them, and they got a 9 to 20. Now, I'm speaking of these things from experience because these are the things that I've witnessed and I've read in people's transcripts that has happened. But too many black people feel as though it's not me. Well, you shouldn't have been carrying a gun. There's so many things because I have some of those thoughts as well. But why are you carrying a gun? You shouldn't be carrying a gun. But no, listen, slow down. we have the right to carry guns? Why is it that white people can carry these same guns and not catch any of the charges that we catch for the same offense? You gave him a 9 to 20. You gave a white person for doing the same thing a 3 to 6, a 2 to 4. So this is the unfair sentencing continues. And we have more black people sitting in jail than we do white people. And this is the math they like to try to use. They try to tell you that we have the same amount. If we have 50 black people in jail and we have 50 white people in jail, and you're telling me we have the same amount of people in jail, and so the numbers aren't distorted like they say they are. When the white people fail to use the math that needs to be calculated, and white people are awesome at doing this, they have a tendency to not realize the math we are using stems from society, not from prison. That prison number may be equal, 50 blacks, 50 whites. And I'm using those just for a simple argument. But yet, if we take 2,000 white people in society and 1,000 black people in society, and we took those numbers, 50 and 50, you're down to 19,050 people. We're down to 950 people. So our numbers are even less than your numbers to start with. Now, don't get me wrong, our statistic numbers might be different now because of population growth, census-wise. I don't know. So that could be something I could look into and find out. But I probably won't because I'm just spitballing this. Anyway, then you have, those are the things that make us angry. You know what I mean? So you think about how unfair we've been treated, how unfair we are treated, and we continue to be unfairly treated as we go on. We continuously get mistreated. And again, we allow some of these things to occur. We got to learn to get out here and vote and put the people in office. I have a friend who's been trying to run for judge, and for whatever reason, these black people in the community can't get a grip and see that you don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? You need to put this person in position to see what is able to be done, what this other person is able to do for our judicial system. That doesn't mean she's going to wipe away your sentence, you know what I mean, or ignore your sentence for the crime you've committed. No, but at least you know your crime and your time are going to fit. Your time, your crime is going to match the time. You're not going to see the unfair sentencing if you were to put this person on that panel. If you did a job and your max sentencing was a 10 to 20 and she hit you off with a 4 to 8, dude, the max is 10 to 20. She gave you 4 to 8. But that's not saying she did you a favor. She realized, she looked at your history and everything of this nature to give you what should be required to help you learn your lesson. So that's we just need to put better people in position and vote so that those people are in position that are going to do what needs to be done the right way. I'm not telling them to give anybody breaks or anything of this nature, but we need them to do the right thing, not sit up there and put black people away longer than you would white people, or put white people away longer than you would black people. If that were to happen, that would be just a switch of this, a flip of the switch, so you could see how it felt to live in our shoes for a little bit. You know, how do we get there? You know what I mean? As I said, we get out here and vote. We do what needs to be done, and we help each other. We look out for each other. We communicate with each other, and get back that village. We need to get back what we lost. These kids that were having kids, parents, we are parents and grandparents who are helping our kids raise their kids, which is fine and dandy, and we're raising our grandkids, which now we're not teaching our child to be responsible. They think that they can leave them with the parents, and you take the sympathy road where it's like, yeah, because she ain't gonna take care of that baby. I mean, she ain't gonna do this. He ain't gonna do that. He ain't gonna do this. And then you say, give me the baby. Give me the baby. You ain't doing this. No, it's not your child. You didn't have that fun to make that child. So allow that child to raise that child. But teach that child that's raising the child how to do so. How to know, there's a time and place for you to do what you need to do. And raising your child is the first thing you need to understand. You need to get out here. You need to get yourself stable, and keep your place clean. Keep yourself clean. You ain't worried about your reputation. You ain't worried about taking care of your house. You don't worry about taking care of anything you have, and then that's exactly how you're going to live. And it all starts at home. It all starts at the house. If you ain't cleaning your room, you ain't helping clean the house, you ain't doing shit, you're going to live just like that. You're going to come out to be that type of person. So, I just wanted to touch on that there. This has been another episode of Assorted Duties. And again, I am your host, Arthur Reynolds. And until next time, have a great day.